Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Part of me is fighting this, but part of me is gone. So hold me when I'm here.
Gaming is so unreal. It's like, well, I don't know. With Call of Duty, it's not, but some of those games are really just over the top unreal. You know. So yes, it definitely, I think, would tap into the creative side.
In my specific circumstance, gaming's more of a getaway, really, than anything else. Since we kind of push creativity to the max here, during sessions, gaming is more of a way to kind of rest that creative part of the brain and just kind of do what something else tells you to do and shoot people in the head.
What it does for me in the recording session is it cools my ears off. It takes me out of the computer and the audio and just that concentration that I have when I'm recording. It takes me out of that for a moment. It puts me in a different realm. Lets that part of me cool off, and I can almost go back in fresh.
It does build on a sense of community inside of a studio environment where everybody's kind of taking a break, playing a game together.
Yeah, it definitely builds community for sure. Even with people you don't know, because you play online with a lot of people, you don't really get to know them as a face, but you get to know their voice, and you get to know their gamer tag, which is typically something, like insane killer guy, you know what I mean? It's something weird, but you identify like a whole personality with a set of numbers and dashes, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would say it definitely builds some community.
If I wasn't gaming, I'd be in here pacing back and forth thinking about my work. And then by the time I got back in there, I'd be mentally exhausted from it. So, when I come in here and game, it's way different, It allows me to get away from the work, think about this, and then when I get back, I'm all about that.
Gaming definitely takes a long time. I mean, like even Call of Duty, you'll sit and play that for hours. I don't know any other thing on the planet that you'll do for that long. Maybe watching movies, maybe. But think about it. Could you watch movies 12 hours a day for 4 days? I don't think so.
So hold me when I'm here, love me when I'm wrong, hold me when I'm scared, and love me when I'm gone.
Hello, my name's Toll Train.
My name's Jordan. Mackenzie.
My name is Mackenzie.
My name is Martin.
My name is Neil.
My name is Shelby. This is the Subjects of Youth of the World.
Youth on subjects of the world.
Youth subjects of the world.
Today we're talking about gaming culture.
And video games.
And video games.
Yay!
Now they affect the world as a whole.
Yeah. So I'm just going to start by saying if you've watched any of our podcasts before, we almost always get to a point where we talk about video games at some point. Like, even if we don't mean to, it happens almost every single time. So this is finally going to be the one where we don't just briefly touch on it and then someone has to be like, okay, we're getting off topic 30 minutes later. This is going to be the one where it is the topic, so that should be fun.
Watch us start talking about movies or something and we get completely off topic and we talk almost nothing about gaming.
Yeah.
That'd be horrible.
In no way about gaming.
The Matrix. That's a movie.
Yeah. We're already getting off topic. All right.
So how do we want to open the discussion then?
Maybe we should explain what video games are for anyone that doesn't really know that much.
If you've been
yeah.
living under a
So,
rock,
video
and you know
Video
what
games
are.
are these virtual games
Thingy.
that you can play with a controller. It's really weird. I mean, I don't understand the concept.
Whoa, are you being a console peasant by saying a controller? PC Master Race is played with a keyboard.
Neil.
Oh yeah, dude.
Neil.
Mouse all the
A
way.
Keyboard is a controller.
What?
It's just a form.
No, it's an
That's
input
console
device.
peasant
Oh,
talk.
input device. You're right. A mouse is a controller.
Console peasant talking. Yeah, that's your console peasant coming out.
You
Everybody
know
You
what?
can also use your phone to play video games.
You're done.
Oh,
Shelby.
that's true.
Shelby. No. There are like 1 or 2 good games on mobile devices, maybe 5, but otherwise they're all like pay to win.
Wait.
Farmville.
Wait.
Yeah.
Did you just go from 2 to 5? Like
Yeah.
1 or 2, maybe 5.
1 or 2, maybe 80. 2 to 80. But
Alright, so
I think we can all agree that the majority of mobile games are not that great. They're all
They're
like,
not great, but they're still games.
that's true.
That's true. There are some
Okay,
games.
I'm gonna real quick just say, video games, there's lots of different ones. There's mobile games, console games, PC games, there's all
Sounds like you're
kinds
saying-
of them. And games, some of them are video games, some of them aren't. There's board games, all kinds of things. And some games are puzzles, some games are shooters, some games are mysteries, and some games are less of a game and more of a movie or art or whatnot. Games can come in many different shapes and sizes. And different people like different games, and some people don't like games at all.
Perhaps we should all start with saying what our experiences are with video games, each individual experience. You know, to get context on where we stand.
All right. So let's just go with the order that we started in. So then Coltrane's up first.
Oh, and everyone remember to mute when you're not talking.
Affirmative. Over and out.
Okay, so I like to play video games a lot. They're something that I really like. I mostly play them on Steam, which is this very, very large video game platform. There's a lot of platforms that have tried to emulate Steam's popularity, but Steam is most popular. Video games are really cool. I like them. I play them a lot. I've gotten pretty good at them. I like a lot of different kinds of games. Sometimes I like games that are very story-based and have a lot more to do with telling a narrative or proving a point or something. But I also like to play some games that are just go shoot someone, go do something, blow up a building. Just little games are fun too, but I also like puzzle games. I like all kinds of games. I like games.
Sorry, it's my turn. My personal experience with gaming very early on, circa something, I don't know. All right, I started in like, oh geez, I'm trying to think back. So I was like, when did Minecraft release? You guys like the beta? Yeah, it was like 2011 or something.
Between 2009 and 2011.
I was thinking.
Yeah, because PC was the first one and
yeah.
beta was very new.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think
guess
that's
it was
also my first
back
PC game.
time.
Yeah, I started with like I think halfway or so through the beta of Minecraft, and I played it. I still played it like every once in a while, but not nearly as much as I used to. But like, you know, that was my first game, and I can imagine that was a lot of other people's first games. I just saw some guy on YouTube playing it. No, I remember. I was playing Angry Birds on my iPad, and I went to look up Angry Birds on YouTube, and I found some Minecraft video about like Angry Birds pixel art, and then I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Angry Birds pixel art.
That's how I got started in gaming, Angry Birds pixel art.
Isn't that how everyone started?
Yeah, and then eventually, you know, I found out about Steam. I have like a couple games on Steam, and right now I'm working on saving up for like a Nintendo Switch. So that's my experience up to now. So
Just a couple games on Steam?
I've got like
That's
8 or
that's
something.
noob.
Coltrane, I'm not a console peasant. Okay, maybe just a little bit. I think consoles are like basically underpowered PCs. And I would agree that PCs are great, but there's just some console exclusive games that I'd rather play. And, the console experience, that like on something as unique as a Nintendo Switch, you can't necessarily get like something like that on PC. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Who's next in the order?
Let's see. The next person up
I think it's
is...
Mackenzie.
She doesn't really have very much experience with video games other than mobile games, so Martin, here you go.
All right, Martin's
Okay.
Mobile games are still games, though, so I mean, you can still talk about mobile
Actually,
games.
you know what? Let's get her view. Mackenzie, go ahead.
So, if you play like a certain mobile game, it varies, like if it's an online game. Because if it's an online game, then I think it has like better quality than, let's say, like Mobile Strike or just some other game. But in all, I think that mobile games are okay, and that's how I started, and that's still how I do gaming.
Okay, so I have an interesting story for video games because I initially hated video games and the concept, yeah, and the concept of video games in general, I thought it was the worst until I was probably about maybe 9 because basically all my friends were obsessed with video games and the way I saw it was like, okay, I want to be outside and play. You want to sit in here and play video games. Therefore,
Martin, you dog.
therefore, because you play video games and that's preventing you from playing with me outside, I hate video games. That was my logic at like 5 years old. So I basically hated that. We had like a bunch of game systems like Wii's and GameCubes, and my dad built his own arcade machine, and I liked playing that, but like I never was into gaming until I got really into like Dragon Ball games and stuff like that, like just like third-party games and stuff like that, like all games that aren't like standalone games. They are based off of some sort of movie or TV or comic book. Until Call of Duty Black Ops 2 came out, and my dad got that, and when he was kind of bored of it, I started playing it, and I got super, super into it, and I was like really, really into that on the Xbox 360 for like 6 months straight. It was bad. I had it bad, and I was so obsessed with that game. And then I stopped playing video games for a while and started playing PC games. And I started playing this really like interesting game on computer called Plasma Burst 2. Like it's this really, really cheesy like Halo, and like it's like a ragdoll science kind of game. It's really bad. And that's how I got into PC gaming, oddly enough. And then I got Gary's Mod, and I got really into that for like 4 months. And yeah, and then like that's my story is I got into PC gaming for a while, and then recently I kind of stopped playing video games because I've been so busy, but I still have the games and I play them when I can.
Real quick, I looked it up. Plasma Burst. Plasma is spelled with a Z in the game name. You can tell that it's going to be bad if it's spelled plasma.
Anyway, so my experience with gaming was I believe the first game I ever played was probably actually, let me think. Crap. Okay, so part of me thinks it might have been Minecraft. So it may have been Minecraft. What really got me into gaming as a whole was I think I got an Xbox the whole family was given an Xbox for Christmas by my aunt who works at Microsoft at that time. He worked at Microsoft at the time, and she was able to get a discount. She gave the whole family Xbox, and we just played like the games that were on there, like the Connect, games where you move around. You like, okay, move your hand here, and that kind of stuff. And I believe that then I remember the first game that I actually played that was, an actual mainstream game series. It was Halo Reach. And I remember when I got that, I started playing it, and I was really, really into that for a very long time. And this is when I realized just how much I like learning about. Honestly, I like learning more about the game universe than actually playing the game itself. I'll play a game, but I'll spend more time reading about the universe that the game takes place in. So ironically, you'd think that if you play video games, you'd read less, like speaking of books. But I mean, I've probably read more because of video games and because I just want to learn about, what goes on in there. And I just found it, really fascinating with, gaming series like The Elder Scrolls and reading about that. Even, Halo, first-person shooter, has, a lot of rich, lore, what it's called, like the backstory. And that's how I really got into gaming, is where I'll just, I'll play a game and I'll normally get really into the backstory and the lore and all that. So that's really my experience with gaming.
My experience with gaming goes back to, what was it, when I was like 10? I was like between the ages of 9 and 10. And Minecraft Xbox Edition had just come out. And so, like, my whole family was interested in playing Xbox. But then my mom realized that there was a computer version of Minecraft, then she could go play that. So she started playing that more than the Xbox after, like, months of Xbox binging Minecraft until 4 in the morning. So me and my brother took over the Xbox almost every single night, and we basically just played Black Ops 2. So, yeah, I can see two people are like, oh, I know what that game is. But after that, I got my own laptop, and now I play Minecraft on there. But I also have a number of Steam games. I used to play Gary's Mod and Skyrim, and I think Grand Theft Auto 4. That's basically all the games I have.
One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking a while ago was I think the first real game I ever played on like a console or something was the Lego games, like Lego Star Wars and Lego Superheroes, all those things.
I loved those.
Those were the bomb when I was little.
Lego Star Wars, the complete saga for the Wii was the bomb, man.
Like, me, my brother, and my dad, we would just, like, play that at night. It was so much fun.
Those Lego games were, like, the bomb.
So, unlike most of, I think, every single person here, I've never once played Minecraft in my entire life. I've never had any interest in it.
Weird.
Like,
I can understand that, the amount of, hype and everybody plays it. I can understand that.
That was, when I was younger, I was very anti what everyone else likes. So when Minecraft got super popular, almost out of complete spite, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not playing this. First of all, I thought it was like I didn't understand why it was so ridiculously popular, and I didn't have any interest to play it. But like, one of the reasons was it was just out of pure spite. I did not want to play it because everyone else loved it so much.
Edgy.
Minecraft is a very creative game, and I feel like that's why a lot of people play it, is because it brings out the artistic style in them.
Yeah.
So do we want to talk about what we think about, how gaming is perceived by either the older generation or people on, quote-unquote, the outside of gaming culture? A lot of what you hear is, oh, little Billy, just go outside. Why are you sitting down playing Minecraft all day? Or you'll hear, video games are rotting children's brains. Why don't they just sit down and read a good old-fashioned wholesome book? And So I guess I'll just give my, opinion on, how gaming culture is perceived. And I would say that I think it gets a bad rap, and that is because I think at its core, video games are a source of media.
Neil, real quick. I've noticed that no matter what, in almost every single podcast, when you make an analogy, you always use Billy. Billy
I
is
know, little Billy.
that
Johnny,
little guy.
Why must you do this to Billy?
Yeah, that
What
little
has
guy
he done to you?
always in trouble for something.
Why do you hate Billy so much, Neil?
Hey.
Why not Johnny? Johnny, go outside.
Do you have repressed memories? Did you bully
I'm
Billy?
Little Billy. I'm Little Billy.
He's little Billy.
I'm Little Billy the whole time. But anyway, so what I was saying was about how, why don't you just go outside, and video games are just so bad they rot your brain. And I think video games are a source of media, just like books, TV, and movies. Books, TV, movies, and video games are the main sources of media. So let's start with, movies. So movies, self-explanatory. Almost everybody has, seen a movie. I'm pretty sure. TV.
What is movie?
Yeah, what's a movie, Neil?
It's like a TV show except longer.
What's a TV show?
It's like the full-length version of a GIF.
It's the full-length version of a GIF, exactly.
Don't you mean a GIF?
Sorry
about don't go down that. Do not go down that path. That's just gonna.
We're
start a
off
whole nother
topic.
war.
So anyways, and I think that you have to understand that this is really a side effect of juvenoia, which is it's like a phobia of I don't know why I did air quotations. It is a phobia. It's a phobia of it's like a phobia of the younger generation, and this has been going on for years and years and years and years. And I find this fascinating. What juvenoia is. Actually, I don't know who it was, but it was very long back. I think it was I forget who said it, but you can look up the quote and then who said this, and because I forget who it was. But a very old philosopher said, the written word is making our children stupid and dumb because all it is doing is preventing them from memorizing, and it's making our children lazy. And now all our parents want us to do is just read not you know what I mean by our parents. I mean just like. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that your parents are saying this.
The general,
Yeah, I'm generalizing here. So they're saying that, you need to, what are you doing with this? You should go read some books. Read the written word, which so long ago was said by one of an extremely famous philosopher, said how it was making us stupid. When the phone came out, not the cell phone. No, the phone, we had to pick up the receiver. It was like a circle. Put it to your ear and hold up the thing like this. And they said that would make us a race of left-eared people because we put the receiver to our left ear and we just hear out of our left ear. This is juvenoia at work. Every single older generation has a fear of what the younger generation is doing and thinks it's worse than ours, blah, blah, blah. Video games are simply another source of media, entertainment, and even knowledge in some cases. And you can look at this. Just look up if books came before video games and see if you can find like a short video. I think it's less than a minute. And that's all I'll have to say on this topic. It's a fascinating video. It says what would parents say, like what scared things would they say if books came before video games, and books came after video games, and they were scared of the books, not the video games.
Yeah, I would especially, I would agree with that. Just I'm gonna use a very, very old one. I don't even know how long ago this was, but the younger generation listening to the Beatles, and the parents are like, oh, they're listening to the Beatles? That's just atrocious. That music is gonna turn my children into terrible people. The Beatles are terrible.
That really goes back to when the Beatles came out and everyone's parents were from the other generation. So they were like, whoa, what's this? No.
Yeah. And there is there is bad things, like there's like new things that are bad, of course, with every generation. But, there's going to always this one big mass thing that the new younger generation gets into that the older generation just doesn't understand and has what was it, Neil? Juvenile phobia?
It's juvenoia.
Juvenoia. Thank you. The juvenoia of. And I'm curious what it's going to be when we're all adults and aren't the younger generation behind us. What's the junophobia going to be?
Damn kids and your interconnecting mind links. Get out of the virtual world and come and play some good old video games.
I know. Come in and play some good old video games. The kids are going to be sitting like this with wires hooked up to their brains. Hooked it up to the collective internet.
Get out of the Matrix and play some Halo with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you can also, I see this with like, I don't have the facts for this, but you'll see the people in the media saying video games cause school shootings, video games cause terrorism and violence and all this other stuff. To my knowledge, I don't think either side has been 100% proven wrong or right yet.
It's kind of like, well, it's hard to tell what do you mean by like either side have been proven wrong, or like, I think generally speaking, though it might be mild, if you do play like millions and millions of hours of like Battlefield, you are going to get desensitized to violence. But I'm not necessarily saying you're going to go shoot people, because there's a very big leap between slightly desensitized to violence and shooting.
And what Martin said is actually a scientific fact. You can prove that in controlled test subjects, that exposing them to more violent video games will make them desensitized to violence. It doesn't mean they're going to go up and shoot up a school. It means that they might get less grossed out to see an actual person with their brains blown out, against, you might be more desensitized to that. However, if somebody is going to be as extreme as to play Battlefield 4, and then they're going to go out and shoot up a school,
there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, and there's something wrong with them to the point of where I doubt that only video games would have caused them to do that.
Plus, plus video games have, like, they have rating systems for a reason, and if you ignore that, that's your own choice. So I think the argument that people give that it causes school shootings and it causes violence is wrong. I think
in defense of it, were you not done?
I was kind of. Basically, I was just going to say it depends on who you are and, like, the level of, like, how immersed you get into video games.
And, like, how mature you are. Like, you're not going to give, like, you really shouldn't give, like, Battlefield or Grand Theft Auto to, like, a 5-year-old.
Don't give Grand Theft Auto 5 to Billy.
Yeah, don't give Grand Theft Auto 5 to Billy. But, like, if you're, like, a teenager or, like, an adult, it's going to be different, because when you're that young of an age, things that like you're exposed to imprint on you, and like you're very easily, I'm trying to think of the word, molded differently as a human being than when you're older. And so that's, that's why you really shouldn't, give your 5-year-old Billy, Little Billy, Grand Theft Auto 5. It's just, there is a rating system, and I just I hate to see that. I don't hate the parents. I don't hate the kids. I just hate to see like the parents giving their 8-year-old kids Call of Duty and like Grand Theft Auto. And it with some kids, there's obviously going to be some kids who they're more mature than most kids their age. But just it's I just hate to see like a kid who's like, oh, like when I was in 3rd grade talking about like Call of Duty and machine guns at like the school lunch table and all that stuff. Because like at that age, you're in like 1st grade. Why are you talking about machine guns at school? You should be talking about like what little Billy did in like he fell off the scooter and lost his Pokemon cards. Not, hey, I got a 360 no scope headshot yesterday with an AR-15. That was awesome.
Totally hashtag wretch some noobs, dude.
Yeah.
To be fair though, who are we to, make the standard of what, kids should be? I'm not trying to, like, get
You're just playing devil's advocate.
Who are we to make the standards for, what kids talk about? Isn't that itself, like, I'm just trying to, incite a little bit of,
yeah.
what's this? Like, isn't that itself a form of juvenoia?
Yeah, that's true.
No, not.
Yeah, a little bit.
I wouldn't say so because it's one thing to be judgmental of what others talk about, and it's another thing to be concerned. Like, I'm not angry at the people who are concerned. Like, doesn't mean that they're necessarily right, but I'm not angry at the people who are concerned that, like, video games make you violent.
To be clear, let's make a clear difference. There's a clear difference between Little Billy saying, in this video game, I got this cool new upgrade to my gun. Then it's so cool shooting and killing people, right?
Yeah.
There's a clear distinction.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, it's different depending on the behavior. Like, I don't think
Little Billy's a horrible person.
Yeah, Little Billy's a terrible person. Like,
yeah.
I agree with Martin. Like, it's not like we can, like, at least right now, we can't just, like, I don't think we, like, can brain scan kids and say, oh, yeah, here, you can play this kinds of games.
Yeah. I don't think there should be more restrictions. I think the rating system on video games that we have right now works perfectly. It's clearly stated, like, this is rated M for mature or whatever. Like, that is what the rating system is. That doesn't mean you can't buy it, but if you choose to buy it, it's your choice. Like, you can't get
at your own risk.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Like, on a slightly separate note, but still related, I don't support just, like, having kids be able to sit all day playing video games on, like, a 4-day binge of, like, doing nothing but playing video games.
Yeah.
Because that, like, the same way that it wouldn't be healthy to do a 4 day of anything, like, it's not healthy to do too much of anything.
Hell, 4 days of sitting down and reading books would, not be good. You need to get up and do something.
There needs to be balance in kids' life.
Yeah,
it's
you need
to play, like, maybe like 20 minutes of video games, but then go play outside for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, like,
for me, it's not even video games are bad, therefore don't do it. It's more of a health thing for me.
Yeah, it's like it's not healthy for your brain or for your body to do one of something for long periods of time.
Especially for your body. You can develop blood clots for sitting down for extended periods of time.
Also, it's not good for your sleep patterns. I have multiple friends who have completely destroyed their sleep pattern by staying up all night playing video games, and that's, like, all they do. And it's not healthy because it's not healthy because it doesn't, like, I don't know, it doesn't give you all the stimulation you need to have in life for your brain, but it's also not healthy because you get out of shape and blood clots and things that could happen from sitting still for too long.
I think as long as you get close to or hopefully just 8 hours of sleep and you get activity, you just realize that there are other things you can do, I think it's fine. As long as you get 8 hours of sleep and, you get activity and, you just realize that there's other ways to stimulate your brain, I think that's fine. But a quick personal experience that I had is I actually was playing, somebody else was playing on my phone. It was a mobile game. And I'm not going to lie, the title's a bit offensive. And let me just give you some context on why I downloaded it. I was just surfing the internet like, you do, and I was just surfing it, and then I found this mobile game, and I was just like, what the hell? And it was literally called Kill Yourself, the game was, and I'm just like, what? And it was a game, and I was like, okay, I just have to download this and see what the hell this is. And my friend's sitting next to me, and I download the game, and it's a puzzle game. It sounds really bad, but it's a puzzle game, and it's a little fun. And and I was playing it, and you have to find out ways to, kill yourself. And it's actually really hard because you have to, like, put things together. Like, one of them is, like, you got to get a nail and a tie and reinforce things, and you got to get, like, a thread and a needle and reinforce the tie so you can hang yourself with it.
Okay, but that's like that's not good. That's really not good, even if it's interesting and it's a puzzle game.
I think there needs to be to me something needs to be explained. I think that if you're and first of all, I mean, I only played the game just really quick for context because I don't have much experience with it for probably a total of 1 hour of all the time I've had it. And I've had it for it must have been 2 years now because I'm bad at it. I'm not good at solving the puzzles. I'm really bad at it. I think there's a clear difference between
You're not good at killing yourself.
Yeah, if you're offended, I get it. I get it because I totally get it. Personally, it takes a lot to offend me, and I don't really. I just think personally that I don't know. I just life's too short. I don't really get offended by that other stuff. But it's a personal thing. But I think that maybe we should be like, hey, little Billy, here's how you kill yourself. It takes a certain level of maturity. And I'm pretty sure there's a disclaimer on it saying, this is a game. Don't do anything stupid. But the bottom line is, I remember this person was playing it, and I was sitting next to him, and I was just watching him play it. And I was sitting there watching him play because I'm not good. He was actually pretty good at it. And then somebody was like, what's that game called? I was like, what? And he was like, well, technically it's called Kill Yourself. And, we tried to explain how, and then people were talking about it, and then it's like, no wonder there's so much violence in the world. And it's like, really? You think a mobile app is causing violence? Now, I think people underestimate.
No, well, I'm going to stop you right there for just a second. I don't think it's that the mobile app is causing violence. I think that it's the violence in the world that's causing the mobile app. It's really, no matter what way you look at it, it's really sad that there's a mobile app, no matter if it's not meaning to offend anyone, and it doesn't personally offend me, but I think it's really sad that there's a game that centers around trying to kill yourself. And even if it's not directly causing violence, it's still a subject of the violence in the world, and it's making it a standard that level
I can make the same, but I can make the same argument with Call of Duty. I can be like, this is glorifying of a war between two. This is glorifying World War II. This is glorifying World War I. It's really just.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit different context when the game is called, just the name of the game in general and the subject of the game. It's a little different in games in first-person shooter games like Halo or Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever, because there's also storyline and there's also there's more context to it. And
well, if you look at World War, for example, Call of Duty World at War, yes, it's a story, but the death is at a much larger scale. What is that? What's that game? I don't know what it's called, but you literally drop, some sort of gas, and it melts the skin off, and you see a bunch of civilians that are just dead there, and and it's just war crimes. And I forget which Call of Duty. I think it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare something or the other. Which one it was? And you dropped and there a nuke was dropped. I think that when it comes to video games, there's a clear line of people who can are okay with the offensive content and not okay with the offensive content. I don't know, but the thing I have a problem with is people being it's maybe we should be focusing on the real problems of the world rather than just taking with my interpretation, the cheap way out and saying that video games are causing the problem, video games are causing violence, video games are causing school shootings. This Kill Yourself mobile game that 1,000 people downloaded with a disclaimer on it is causing violence. And I think we need to focus on the actual problem instead of holding on to this juvenoia.
But it's not I think you're confusing juvenoia with getting angry and feeling juvenoia towards the children playing video games, how they should go outside and read a book, and the games that center around killing yourself. It's not the same thing. It's a completely different.
Okay.
Separate. Wait, one second.
Let me make something clear then. I think there's a big difference between things that are actually, causing violence in the world, like policy changes in the world and political upsets, and, a mobile game called Kill Yourself. And I think that while we should talk about, what this game could be causing, I think that, first of all, this game, if anything, Call of Duty is on a bigger scale than that, because this has 1,000 downloads, and what does Call of Duty have? Millions and millions of copies bought.
But the difference between Call of Duty and like the game Kill Yourself is that Call of Duty is like, and I'm not like trying to defend the violence in Call of Duty because I don't really enjoy that, but I'm saying like a lot of the storyline. Now, I don't personally play the story mode on these games, but I do know a lot of them are historically like they're trying to set. It's not the same thing as like it was just showing the violence of a war and nothing else. It's adds context. Isn't there one that ends with you getting shot and you just kind of have to deal with that? Like the end of the storyline is you're dead.
Yeah, I forget which one that is, but I mean,
it's different. It's different because it's accurate to the war, and in a sense, it's honoring what happened and what people fought for. And I'm not saying that it's always like that because it definitely.
But you could argue that it's glorifying. You could argue it's glorifying what happened. It's not,
By that sense, then like any action movie featuring war is also glorifying it. Like
exactly, you can make the same argument. That's my point.
You can make the same argument, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should. You can make the argument that bananas taste better than oranges, but that's like a subjective thing. Like just because you can make an argument for something doesn't mean you necessarily would or ever.
Yeah, but for that you have to prove why the argument wouldn't be valid in that context. I think that let me just make something really quick. So you can look at a level like, No Russian in Call of Duty where you shoot up an entire airport of civilians. And look, I just think that there are, I just think that when it comes to, we should look at the violence that a game called Kill Yourself could cause or a game like Call of Duty could cause and see the effect it could have on your children in common sense, at least your common sense. Common sense is subjective. But, use your common sense to see what is right for you and what might push somebody else, too far. But I think that we should more because honestly, I think that when it comes to these video games, the amount of violence that is caused by the video games is this much, and the amount of violence that is caused by the actual things that I'm talking about, like policy changes and politics in the world.
Okay.
A lot. Whoa, let me finish, please.
I understand.
No. I'm saying we should probably focus.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
I know what you mean, but I'm not saying that we're focused, and I'm not saying that Kill Yourself is going to cause someone to kill themselves or that it's violent or that's going to cause any violence at all. I'm not saying that at all. But just because it doesn't cause something doesn't mean it isn't in poor taste. Like, it's still in poor taste, and it's still depicting something, but it doesn't necessarily have to cause anything, Neil. Just because there's other more important things to worry about doesn't mean you can't briefly touch on that and talk about how, hey, this isn't good either.
And again, you could even make the argument that, that any
we should probably move on.
Yeah, okay, but let me at least respond to the point. You can make, you can say that any game where you kill something is, glorifying that, or it's in poor taste to even depict you killing some movie, video game, even book.
Okay, well, maybe it is, but that's all subjective.
Exactly, maybe it is. I just think that when it comes to actual changes in the world, we shouldn't be talking about pointing finger at video games.
No one was ever, I don't think we were ever talking about that.
No, but I was, and that's why I was saying that.
Okay, so should we move on?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, what I was trying to butt in and say was, a little while ago, you guys were talking about war and how it's kind of glorified in video games, but I want to say, war is glorified in a lot of different media, like in movies, TV shows, video games. Just war is very glorified. It's shown to be very patriotic and it kind of is, but on the other hand, war isn't good.
One of the biggest franchises of all movie history is called Star Wars. It literally has wars in the title.
Are we talking about video games here, or because?
Okay, well, I think we all made our point, or you two did. I think now we should move on to some better video games that aren't telling people to commit suicide or glorifying war.
Okay, Neil.
Let's talk about creative video games.
Talk about cool video games that help instead of hinder. Games like, I don't know, think of a game like Life is Strange or Minecraft. That game was cool. I don't know. Games that aren't bad.
Yeah. Like right now we're getting a little off course. We're talking about kind of the effects on society, and that goes along with gaming culture. But at the same time, there's a whole other side of gaming culture where there's the community and all this other great stuff. But there's also, there's a couple sides of gaming culture, but like some of them are, the communities, and then there's the people who like actually take seriously like the whole console war thing. I don't know why I did the quotation marks, but like anybody who like the people who play on PC, anybody who uses a console is a console peasant and they're automatically bad gamers. And for some people on console, anybody who uses a PC is not a real good gamer, or a real gamer or a good gamer because they don't use a console. And there's always some people like that, and just almost any kind of, I'm trying to think of the word, culture. But there's a good and a bad side, and there's always the people that are closed-minded, and I just thought I'd bring that up.
Do we want to talk about the communities that we're in as gaming? Because I think we've all had experience with video games. Should we go around saying, like, what communities, are we in? What do we like to, when it comes to not actually playing the game, what communities do we participate in, if any?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so who wants to
start? Someone else can start. I don't really know what to talk about yet.
I guess I'll go first, unless anybody else wants to go first.
I don't know. I don't care when I go. Although I need to go before the break starts because I'm leaving at the break.
All right, let's let Neil go first.
Okay. So most of the so I would say like when I participate in like video game culture, it's normally on YouTube, and I watch videos about the game, like either theories. I'm not talking about game theory, but I'm talking about like theories about upcoming games, or even mostly discussion about the game itself or the lore behind the game. And like I really like the Elder Scrolls and the Elder Scrolls lore and community as a whole. And the best part about that community is that you get a lot of debates too when you're there, because you get a lot of people, because the lore is very convoluted and scattered out, but there's a hell of a lot of it. So you've got people on this side debating about this is what happened, this is what this means, and things that are just so weird and convoluted. You got people making videos, and the Shoddy Cast, their YouTube channel, they made a whole lore series, and they've been called the child's entrance to Elder Scrolls lore. And, they've been, roasted a little bit. And other just communities, like, I like, listening to Halo lore, Halo backstory, the Halo community talk about games. And, I'll follow a lot of YouTube channels. And sometimes I'll get into arguments in the comment section, like, that's not what happened. This is what happened. So yeah, that's normally my experience with gaming culture as a whole. And I really have a great time with the community. That's mine.
I guess I'll go now. My experience with the gaming community and games and such is I'm kind of part of, like, I like a lot of shooters, like Overwatch and TF2, mostly cartoony ones, not realistic ones like Call of Duty. Those ones, I don't like them as much. But I also really like story-based games, like puzzle games like Portal and Fallout. And Fallout is a really cool game because it's got a lot of weird story things that happen in it. It's a very interesting game, and there's a lot of lore. So there's a lot of videos on the internet about what happened when, like what happened in all the vaults, which is a thing in the game. There's a bunch of vaults that people stayed in because there was a nuclear fallout that happened. And it's really interesting because there are some mysteries in the game, some things people don't know. I don't know. It's very cool. I don't really have anything else to say.
I don't have very much experience with being in a gaming community because I don't game that much. I'm more into like art. But my brother includes me in his gaming community, which is basically Rainbow Six Siege and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. That one's a fairly new game, but they're about to come out of their beta, I think, or their early access on Steam. And so, like, their gaming community is kind of rough against like squeakers, little kids that have high-pitched voices. And so, like, they're all like, hey, get out of here, squeaker, you're too young to be playing this game. At the same time, it's insulting the child, but it's also watching out for them to maybe it's like, hey, you're too young, you shouldn't be exposed to this. It's all my experience.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I think it's more so like when I hear people, or at least in my experience, when I've heard people going after like no squeakers, and like when you're joining a server and in it says in the rules it's like no squeakers. That's frustrating because they're not watching out. They're saying squeakers for a reason. Like
It's
they are just, it's annoying on the voice. But that's another interesting thing on a video game is we touched, I think, briefly on this when we did a podcast on anarchy, but a video game setting is similar to an anarchy because like there's no real like, especially a video game like Gary's Mod, each server makes its own rules for how it works. Like there is no giant overlaying rule that changes what it's supposed to be like, and I think that's very interesting.
Oh yeah, Gary's Mod is very interesting when it comes to gaming communities because almost every server is its own community. Because every server, there's no official servers. They're all run by people. So pretty much every server you'll have a bunch of people who are like friends or in a group, or they all know each other. And then they go in between servers, and there's been groups of friends and people that know each other, and they play together on Gary's Mod.
So was somebody trying to say something I didn't hear?
I was. Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Okay, got it. Okay. I think I was talking the same time you were talking, so I had no idea what you just said. So I think quick things, I mean, all of us were talking about, these video games are sending out this message, these video games are sending out this message, these video games we like these, but honestly, again, I just want to say something really quick. Video games, they're our source of media. The whole point is entertainment and stimulation. So if what you play is entertaining to you, and it's not hurting anybody else, I don't think a video game can hurt anybody, but if you're like, hey, let me just take this, I don't know, drone and ram it into somebody, that's not really a video game, but you know what I mean? As long as, you're not hurting anybody or, being like, hey, go home, noob. That's smack talk, but don't really make anybody, don't be too mean to anybody. I can't tell you what to do, but, please. Other than that, I mean, just play whatever the hell you want to play because that's the great thing about video games in the world today. And yeah, do we want to go to break now? Because it's like...
Yeah, unless anybody else wants to bring anything up before break, we're about at the halfway point, so...
Yeah, that was kind of my closing statement because I'll be gone when the break is done.
Minecraft kind of has the same community where, as Gary's Mod, where it's a bunch of people running this thing. And if you get like a small server to where there's not very many people, you can probably become friends with them instantly and just be like a part of the server and help it like build.
Yeah.
Big servers are also kind of hard to keep track of, so that's why they have like a lot of people there.
Yeah. Anything else before we go on break, guys? Any objections?
No, I'll just see everybody. I think I might be on next week for a half an episode again. I'm not going to be on for a little while. So that was kind of my closing statement I just said. So thank you for having me on.
We'll see you, Neil.
Bye, Neil.
Adios.
Bye, Neil.
And we'll see you guys in a couple of minutes when we return from the break.
Exactly.
Bye.
Bye.
Most people could think back to the late 70s as the place where video games took off. But what exactly was the first video game? There are a lot of theories about this, but you may be surprised how far back it goes. So hey, I'm the Gamer from Mars, and this is the origin of gaming theory. In 1972, Pong was released by Atari. It was an arcade machine that simulated a game of tennis. It's a common belief that Pong is the first game ever created, but that's simply not true. It is, however, the first electronic game to have commercial success. To find the true owner of this title, we'll have to go back further. A year before Pong, the founders of Atari released the game Computer Space. It was technically the first video game to be released to the public, even though there was a game created for the public before it, but it took longer to release. And this sends us back further. Around 1966, Ralph Baer started developing the Magnavox Odyssey, and by 1968 there was a functioning prototype. Even though it wasn't released to the public until 1972, most people refer to its creation as being in 1966. This is one of the more common theories as to what the first video game was, but they're wrong as well. At the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the game Space War was being created on a DEC PDP-1 computer. In the game, two players commanded spaceships on the screen while attempting to shoot down the other player. Although the game was very complex and seemed more advanced than games 10 years after it, it never took off because of how big and expensive the computers were. Although revolutionary, Space Wars was not the first game. Believe it or not, the first tennis game was developed for the Brookhaven National Laboratory's Visitor Day, entitled Tennis for Two. It is considered one of the first games to use graphical display, but no one ever filed a patent for it. This is the oldest game I've ever heard someone consider the first game, but we can go back even further. Now we're getting into the really old stuff. The 1951 Nimrod computer was the first ever computer made solely to play a game. In it you play the game Nim. It was shown off at the Festival of Britain and amazed the people who played it. Now you may be thinking, this must be the oldest game. But there's one more. This is it. The first known video game is the cathode ray tube amusement device, created by Thomas T. Goldsmith and Ethel Ray Mann in 1947. It used the cathode ray tube to aim and fire at predetermined locations placed on the machine, and if you missed, it defocuses, simulating an explosion. So now you know the first true video game. So if you're on a forum and someone says the first game is Pong, the Odyssey, or Space War, you can correct them and say it's a cathode ray tube amusement device. Anyway, thanks for watching, and this has been a Glipboy production.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back. Are we live?
We are live.
Yeah, we're live.
As far as
We're
I
live.
know.
Okay.
Live,
Welcome
yeah.
back. We're back from the break. Neil is gone.
So,
we have
in case you, yes,
we have a
in
new
case you
person
noticed-
now.
Yeah,
we have
Neil.
a new person now.
Actually, no. Neil just got taller and got a hat and grew his hair out. That's what happened. Don't question it.
It's Neil with a
Yes,
hat.
that's exactly what happened, and I changed my name to Leandros, and also I teleported.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome back, Leo.
All of these things are things that have happened.
Yes.
All right.
Neil hit puberty.
No. Neil got killed, so he respawned with a different avatar.
Got that right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So
He bought some cosmetic items.
Yeah, he bought a Wolverine poster. He started talking on a computer. Or
Basically, he got a new avatar and just upgraded everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
He got the $50 coin upgrade package.
Paid lots of money for that coin. How many coins was it?
So yeah, I'm Leandros, just in case you don't know. Nice to meet you if we haven't met before. Yeah, that's about it.
So I think this is actually probably a pretty good segue into microtransactions.
Yes. Perfect.
Perfect.
We can talk about those. So microtransactions. What they are, for anyone who doesn't know, is they are transactions where you, in a game, you can buy either upgrades or in-game currency or just cosmetic items in a game. It can be a mobile game, a PC game, doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's even games that cost money, like Overwatch. Overwatch costs $40 or $60, and you can buy crates in the game, which you can open and get skins, etc. And then sometimes it's in free games, like a mobile game, like, I don't know, Clash of Clans. You can buy, like, I don't know, gems or a secondary currency you can only get by paying.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're done well, and sometimes they're not.
Like, check me out.
Hear everyone's thoughts on that.
I bought all this awesome stuff. I bought some shades and this little stuffed animal, and I got a pet Voltron.
And it was only $60.
I know. I got all this. I bought all this in-game currency with real life, not in-game currency. And look at how cool I look.
And let's talk about that. Does anyone have any experience with microtransactions?
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of, as you might have heard, I didn't really bring it up in the first part of the episode, but I kind of started on mobile gaming, and then I kind of segued into PC gaming. I gamed on a Mac laptop. So I don't know if you'd really call that PC gaming, but computer gaming. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I started on mobile games, and even after I got into computer gaming, I still played a couple mobile games. And you can totally see, like, a lot of the free games like Clash of Clans and all this other stuff. By the way, I want to talk about, just real quick, Clash of Clans. Like, you see all these Clash of Clans clones on, like, the App Store, like Mobile Strike. I don't know if they're clones.
Zombie Girls Z.
Yeah, Zombie Girls
keeps
Z.
popping up.
Mobile Strike, Empire Siege, whatever. It's like a lot of them appear pretty similar.
There was also one Battle Nations a few years ago.
Yeah. Anyway, but you can
Fighty
totally...
game number 3.
What?
Fighty game number 3.
Yeah.
Attack.
Yeah. But you can see how, like, the people who make those games, they'll let you into it for free. But if you're, like, you've got, like, rich parents, you can go from, like, level 0 to level 100 with maxed out gear in about 2.5 minutes.
360 no scope swag.
But the thing is, then it gets boring.
Yeah. But for the people who actually have money, they give people, in some instances, people who have money an advantage, and then they don't, like, give almost a fair kind of, they don't, like, level it out with actual high level players.
Like the smurfing, like in Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like that.
So yeah, you'll, like, let's just say someone pays $20 for everything that's, like, everything's the best in the game. They'll never lose it. They have infinite copies, all this other stuff, and they get matched with, like, someone who just got into the game, and this person keeps getting, like, wrecked. And so I think, there's some games that do that. And microtransactions are okay. But when you almost use them as, like, you use microtransactions as almost, you have to, I'm terrible at this, I'm sorry. When you use microtransactions is almost a pay-to-win game where you almost can't move forward in the game unless you pay money. That is almost a ridiculous part to me. I feel like if you're going to have a game where you have microtransactions, you have to get, you have to pay to progress. I get that if the game's free, more people are going to download it and then they'll buy it. But it would just be easier to, like, and I get why they don't do it for marketing reasons, but it would be easier to just sell the game for a price and not have microtransactions. And then there's the games that you pay $5 for that still have microtransactions, which are completely ridiculous.
Well,
yeah.
There's also microtransactions that are done well.
Yeah.
An example, I think, would be TF2, which I think does microtransactions really well. What TF2 does is you start the game and you have a backpack, and you can get weapons for your characters. It's like a first-person shooter. It's super cartoony. And you can only have a certain amount of weapons, though. And the game's free. If you buy any item in the game, any item, it can be like $1, $2, you get a bigger backpack, and you can hold more things, and you get a few other little bonuses. And that's the only thing you have to pay for the entire game. But then, if you want to, you can pay for hats and cosmetic items. But aside from that, you can get every item in the game for free. All the items that actually matter, like weapons and things that actually change the game. All the cosmetics in the game that you can buy for real money, they don't do anything. They just make you look nice. Like, oh man, I got this flaming pillar of
Battle.
top hats.
Yeah.
3 top hats stacked on top of each other, but they're all on fire. But someone who doesn't have anything, who's never paid, could still be as good as someone who's paid like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
And I think they do that really well, the microtransactions.
Yeah, that's a good way to do microtransactions. And I'm going to kind of segue this off for at least a couple seconds to DLC. DLC is a lot different than microtransactions. Like if you have a game where like Star Wars Battlefront or Overwatch or other things or Battlefield, there'll be certain, and EA seems to love DLC. DLC is like EA's best friend. But how DLC is different from microtransactions is it's almost like unlocking another part of the game. Like you'll pay $60 for the game, and then you can do all this stuff, but then they'll release maybe another $40 or $60 worth of DLC, like new maps or new weapons and other stuff that you can get. And that's and DLC can also include like new story and all this other stuff. And it's different from microtransactions because you're not necessarily getting an advantage into the game, but it's almost like you're paying more to get the rest of the game.
But then again, some people do DLC really well. Like,
yeah.
I can't think of an example. I don't usually play AAA games that have... Oh,
I got
Shovel
one.
Knight. Shovel Knight did DLC really well.
That's one example.
Shovel Knight is this indie game that was made like a year ago or something, maybe 2 years. And you play as a knight with a shovel. And you go around, and it's a big game, and there's a big story. You beat people. You beat like knights who captured your girlfriend. But what they did was they've added a DLC, which makes you play as a new character. But this new character makes the game completely different. Like, Shovel Knight played like one way. This other character plays completely differently. Like, you have to completely relearn how to play the game. And they released it for free. And then after that, they released another character, which changed up all the gameplay again. And they released it for free too. And anyone who bought the game, or even buys the game now, they get both those for free. And it was just free DLC. And then there's some games that don't do it well. They have like day one DLC, which is self-explanatory. It comes out the first day the game comes out. Or DLC that's not downloadable. It's already on the disc or already downloaded, and you just have to pay for it to use it. That's an example of bad DLC.
Yeah, that's definitely an example of bad DLC.
Yeah, like, it's almost like you're like, all right, here's the game, and we showed you all this stuff, but if you want to get this part of this feature you saw in the trailer, you have to pay $20 for this shiny new DLC. And that's an example of bad DLC. Now, if the DLC adds features to the game, it's not like terribly bad DLC. In my opinion, the worst DLC is like
horse armor.
No, that's almost cosmetic, but like the worst DLC is like something you saw advertised in the game trailer that kind of makes you think it's going to be in the game, like multiplayer or something. But then you have to pay extra to get something that should have been in the game originally, which is like the worst kind of DLC.
Something they took out of the game just so they could make people pay for it.
Yeah.
Another version of
like
bad
the
DLC.
Oblivion horse armor. That, yeah. Was it? No, it was Oblivion. Yeah.
Another version of bad DLC is not only does it get advertised on the commercial for the game, but then you pay $20 for this one mystery box that may or may not have the item you want.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about like crates
Microtransactions.
and such.
Yeah,
TF2 does that
like a
too.
mystery box or a
Overwatch.
crate.
CS:GO.
Yeah, that's not necessarily that stuff. As far as I know, like that stuff doesn't give you an advantage in the game.
In CS:GO, TF2, and Overwatch, it does nothing. So
It's
I
just
mean,
cosmetic.
you don't need to buy it. And in Overwatch, you can earn crates just by playing the game really easily, actually.
Another. Never mind.
Well, also, one last thing I wanted to say was that people can also do DLC well without having it be free. Some people, or some companies, make DLC that you do have to pay for, but it's still really good because it adds lots of things.
Yeah.
I don't play many AAA games, and I don't really buy much DLC.
I have
so
an example.
I
would have to say Crusader Kings 2 up until recently, because each DLC adds something new to the game that drastically improves it until they came out with something that just, you can pass on it.
Yeah. And then there's DLC that adds stuff. And like I'm gonna give an example right here, like Zelda Breath of the Wild, it just came out in March. It's been announced that there's gonna be, you get all the DLC that's coming out for the entire game for $20. And so far what's been released is like some cosmetic clothing items, some extra like in-game materials, armor, and like something that upgrades one of the best swords in the game to be like permanently powered up, like to do more damage. But the DLC they just like announced fairly recently that's coming out like this winter is like a prequel to the game. Like it takes the game's story that you've already gone through, and then it kind of gives you a backstory to it. And that's not necessarily bad, but I also feel like any games, like the story to the game should come with the game. You shouldn't have to pay extra for the story. However, in this case, it's almost like a prequel, which I guess you could make its own game. So I kind of understand that. What are your guys' thoughts on something like that?
Well, like something like Life is Strange, you have to pay for each episode. But I believe there's constant deals on you can get the whole set for this amount and stuff like that. So I guess that's okay if it keeps going on sale. But it's not that good.
I got the entire game for like $5.
Yeah, you can get it for $5 on a sale. It's really. Oh, you were gonna say something?
Oh, I was gonna say the game's kind of okay so far.
Yeah, it's okay, but still, it's on sale like sometimes, and you just gotta wait. You don't, like all those Telltale games. Some are good, some are bad. Just kind of gotta.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah, and then there are the games like Simple Planes or something, where they have like a Steam Workshop where all these players can make like awesome mods and different Martin, oh my gosh, you open the fiery gates to hell or something and you're like, oh my eyes.
Hail Martin.
But like they have this whole community where like you can upload parts of the game, kind of like Gary's mod too, where you can upload mods and things that add to the game, and it comes with the game. You don't have to pay extra for that. And that's kind of one of my favorite types of games, where you have the main game and you can be creative with it, but then there's also other people that go absolutely bonkers with some stuff, and it's awesome. And you get it for free, and you don't have to pay extra for it. I like that kind of stuff.
You talking about mods?
Yeah, almost like mods or like games like with the Steam Workshop, where like it's a community-based game and it's not necessarily mods, but you can like the community build stuff and you can like download it. So it's kind of like mods.
Well, mods have kept Skyrim alive for so long.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's the only reason Skyrim's still alive, because people just constantly make mods for it.
Yeah, like
Also,
adding-
because Bethesda decides to port that game to every single console ever, instead of fixing Fallout 3, which can't even run on computers nowadays.
Yeah.
Skyrim's also alive because there's no way to beat it. So people are on this like constant mission to just beat it or see how many hours they can get. So just people, and when they release new games, people ignore the old games, so then they focus on the new games, and it just keeps adding on to this never-ending thing to beat Skyrim. But there's no way to beat Skyrim.
yeah. I mean, technically, in open world games like Skyrim, there is one way, at least in my opinion, to beat games like that. Do every single thing in the game, collect every single item, do every single thing possible, and then you kind of complete the game. But there's still, like, you can still explore, but...
That would take so long. Do you know how many plates you'd have to pick up?
So many plates. And where would you put them all? In a house? In like
Yeah,
just,
store them in.
Find the
I'm
biggest
going
house on the
swimming in
map and
plates.
throw all the plates in it.
I've seen people do that before. They just
Oh my
grab
gosh.
everything they can and just deposit it all in one room.
Yeah.
It stays there.
By the way, who brought up Fallout 3?
Oh, that was me.
Yeah. Speaking of third games, like a third game in the series, let's talk about how Valve can't seem to count to 3.
I'm still waiting.
Like those of you who are watching or listening who don't know what I'm talking about, Valve is the company that made Steam, but they also make some of their own independent games like Portal and Half-Life. But the thing is, they'll make Portal 1, Portal 2, and they'll both be great games, and Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2. And then they'll just stop forever. And it's like, how long has it been since Portal 2's been released? Like 5 years or something?
Something like 5 or
Yeah.
9 or something. I don't know.
They also made Half-Life 2 Episode 2.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to count to 3. They gotta stay at 2.
Yeah, it's like Valve never ever makes a third installment in the series.
Like Windows. Where's Windows 9? Who knows?
Team Fortress 3? No.
No.
Team Fortress 2.
And a half.
I really don't think there's any way to improve upon Team Fortress 2.
Better graphics.
Oh, they could add gloves.
Gloves. Gloves. I mean, like,
and make it so they only appear in one crate and are ultra rare.
Anybody who has gloves is automatically the best person in the game.
Oh my god, you have gloves? I want
until somebody who doesn't even know how to play accidentally gets it in their first crate.
Yeah, or like somebody who sells the gloves on like the Steam Marketplace or something, like, oh, these probably aren't worth much. I'll sell them for like 5 cents on the Steam Marketplace. And then like it crashes the entire Steam Marketplace because everyone's trying to buy it at once. I went a little farther.
Yeah. So what should we transition to next?
Well, just real quick, I once spent hours trying to get money from selling random things like items on Steam. It was great. I think I made like $2.
Wow.
And it was it's the hardest I've ever worked for $2. Just like click.
The hardest
click,
are $2.
Click.
I actually have a lot of items in Steam that are worth maybe $1 or 50 cents. And one time, when I bought Just Cause 3, I was like 30 cents short or something. So I took one of my TF2 hats and sold it for like way under its market price. And it sold in like 2 seconds. Like there's probably bots just patrolling, trying to find cheap items.
What was that?
That's the sound of a bot patrolling for cheap items.
That's the sound of you eating spaghetti.
Yeah,
I think we should talk about maybe kickstart games and such.
Mighty Number 9 sucks.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that and that problem. You know, I hope everyone, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows what Kickstarter is, everybody watching, but just in case, Kickstarter is a site where you can, like, people can put up a thing, they'll say, oh, I'm going to make this. You know, do you want to fund me? And then people can donate money. And they can get rewards on different tires, like, oh, you get this, this, and this if you pay $20. But if you pay $40, you can get this, this, and this. Anyone have any opinion on that?
Wait, what are we talking about?
Kickstarter games, Kickstarter stuff.
Oh, yeah, that. Undertale was Kickstartered.
Really?
Kickstarted.
Kickstartered. Wasn't that one game, that the Friday the 13th game that just came out a couple weeks ago, that was apparently like a complete and total failure. Like that was super, super hyped because it looked awesome in all the trailers and all the gameplay released, and then they released it and everyone
Jason.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. And it's super buggy. You can only play online, and you don't you have like a 3% chance of actually playing as Jason, and it doesn't work. So there's also the case of things like that happening where Kickstarter games don't always work out.
Yeah.
And also, after that game came out, or even before it, there's like 101 other games that are exactly like it, but better.
Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, there's like a billion games where it's like, oh, there's a monster. Oh, run away.
So, I'm going to do something that no one wants to do. We're going to talk about mobile games.
We just did that on the first segment.
Well, no, that was microtransactions.
Well, so I'm going to bring up something that some people don't consider a video game, but it's still a video game. So, what was the biggest app for downloads on phones on the iPhone last year at this time over Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter?
There was one that was Flappy Bird, but that wasn't last year.
Pokemon Go.
Oh, that's right.
I still play that. I still play that.
I forgot
Pokemon, go to the polls.
No, we should never speak of that.
So one of the most interesting things to happen to video games in the past couple years is Pokemon Go. So to go back to this, there's an interesting thing with the company Nintendo, which is most famous for the Legend of Zelda and Mario franchises, which started in the late 80s and have gone on to now. And they released a game called Pokemon, and pretty much since they released it, they've been like, oh, shoot, we've made kids lazy. Let's try working all the time to make sure people get out and run and be active. So they've had millions and millions of, I'm exaggerating a lot. They've had a lot of attempts of trying to get people to be more active. In order to trade, you have to have the connector table, and that thing that was basically like a Fitbit for hatching eggs a couple years ago.
Oh my god, the Pokewalkers!
Yeah.
Oh my god,
yeah.
I love the Pokewalkers.
So they had all these things that were designed to get you to move around. And then a couple of years ago, they announced that they were going to have this mobile game with Niantic called Pokemon Go, that it was going to be like an open world VR experience, and no one noticed it. Oh yeah, hey, sorry. There's a very big difference there. AR experience that no one really paid any attention to it for a really long time before it was released. I was following it very, very passionately. I was very excited for it. And then it came out, and it became the #1 most downloaded app of July.
Kaboom.
It blew up. I remember, I don't know if anyone else was playing that first day. That first day, the servers were down all day.
Oh, yeah. I downloaded it.
Get into your Pokemon Go. It's like, come back later. 20 minutes later, come back later.
Yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't even sign in with my Gmail. I downloaded it at 2 a.m. than the day it came out in Chicago or something.
It's crazy because that's one of the reasons why it's not such a big thing now. It's still really big, but it's not as big as it was because they were not prepared for what they had. And for the amount of people downloading it, they were not prepared for it. So what ended up happening was their servers got flooded. They got people hacking into their things. Like a bunch of people, there's a bunch of rumors spreading around that there was this big hacker and it never really happened. So basically what happened inevitably, like any other trend, like fidget spinners, or I don't know if any of you guys remember silly bands from a couple years ago.
Silly bands were the bomb.
Yeah.
You know there was a
God,
silly
silly
band
band.
video game,
Yeah.
What?
and I own it.
Yeah. Like
Is it on
I
Steam?
said.
No, it's on DS, and it's Flappy. No, it's not Flappy Bird. It's Angry Birds, but worse. And you think there'd be like great physics in the game? No.
I'm gonna get it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get it.
So yeah, like any other craze, it went the way of the dinosaurs, except something interesting about this, Pokemon Go still has an extremely active fan base. And
They do.
I want to say
But,
that
They do.
the reason that servers were down the first few days was because the lizard people hacked into their systems because they didn't like how people were catching animals in the game.
Well,
lizard people are offended by that.
Yes.
Are you talking about like? Are you talking about like the conspiracy theory alien people,
Yeah.
or like the lizard clan or whatever?
Theory? Did you just call it a theory?
So
Conspiracy.
How dare you?
Triggered. So
no one can see the truth.
So, just really quick, it's actually interesting though, because in a summer where a lot of crazy political shit was happening, like that's the summer Triggered was a thing, like, and the whole thing with the gorilla and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
Don't speak his name, the gorilla.
He didn't say his name.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
but we
don't.
did not speak it.
I don't want to speak his name because I don't want to start at that meme again. But yeah, like, yeah. So
Don't make me say it.
no, I'm not saying it, dude. Like, so yeah, it was interesting because it seems like with all the negativity in the world, people would be happy to have something that distracted them. And it was really interesting to see, even though it's completely harmless for the most part, except for the fact that people were like trespassing and finding dead bodies and stuff. But we're going to ignore that for the sake of my point and say it was a completely harmless game and people still found reasons to go after it just because people don't like other people being happy. And I think that's really interesting that even though it distracted people from all the crazy bullshit that was going on in the world at the time, people can still find reasons to make fun of it.
Cold Train, what is this?
What did you do? What's going on?
Cold Train.
I sent Hillary Clinton meme queen
Oh
into
my
the chat.
gosh.
Have you all seen that?
No.
No.
Just look it up on YouTube. Hillary Clinton meme queen.
Looking at memes in the middle of a podcast. Come on, guys. Let's be
do this.
professional at least.
Come on. We had to
It's related to politics, which are related to video games.
See. Okay, so real quick, just to, like, the stereotype is that children can't talk about politics. Let's not make that worse.
Oh my god, let's talk about politics.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have very strong opinions on politics.
Vermin Supreme should have been president. Everyone knows that.
That's a different subject.
Okay, anyways.
Anywho, moving on from that.
Yeah, moving on from that, I just think it's really interesting. Pokemon Go, biggest app in the world for a short period of time, and still has really big fan base, unlike other crazes that died out in, like, dubstep, which I guess still has a fan base, but still.
Still does.
Pokemon Go is
just hiding.
still, its fan base just kind of went wah, 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 wah.
Like,
but it still has a little bit of a fan base.
Like,
I guess, but it's not
Pokemon
that
Go,
big.
in bigger cities, Pokemon Go is very popular right now. But, like, basically it's really interesting, though, because this is literally a game that revolves around catching fictional creatures, and it became so popular because of nostalgia from people's childhood of video games. And it's interesting to see that this generation's, like, our generation here on this podcast, our parents played these video games when they were younger, and we're going to grow up and we're going to have these memories with these video games. And video games is no longer going to be something that's looked down upon by generations. It's going to be something that's normal. Like, when we're adults and our generation is having children and things like that, there's going to be, like, video games, there's not going to be a generation of very vocal people that are against video games. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting. It brings, like you said, it brings back a lot of nostalgia And even from like my childhood, it brings back a lot of memories because I had a Game Boy. Like I had a Game Boy Color and Fire Red when I was 6.
Nice.
I think that was like my very first video game ever. Was Pokemon
I had a
Fire
Game
Red.
Boy too, but I played Mario Golf. Yeah, as a little 5-year-old,
Mario
and I
Golf.
loved it.
I think the very first video game I ever played. Does anyone remember the V-Smile? The VTech things?
Yes.
I don't.
So, like, the VTech things were these things that were created for, like, little kids, and my dad bought me one because, like I mentioned, he was super into video games, so he bought me one, and there was, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but Spidey and Friends, this really, really old, like, it was a toy line. It didn't have anything but toys, and it had a video game with it, and that was my first video game.
You mean I'm like the little leapfrog thing? Oh, that thing, yeah. Oh, I have very faint memories of playing that and then being really confused when half of the villains didn't show up in the movie.
My first real video game was with her when she let me see her DS, her Nintendo DS. And my first game was Mario Kart. And when she would look at me and she was like, Mackenzie, you don't know how to play this.
Like an expert at that time. Like, no, this is how you play it.
So I think that throughout generations, there's going to be stuff that's popular, but then it's going to grow old. But our generation, like, for example, our generation, we're going to think like the new games that are out right now, our kids or even our kids' future kids are going to think that's like real old.
Yeah.
So
It comforts me that someday we're going to have hipsters who are nostalgic for this time. It really comforts me. Anywho, should we, I think we should, how did we get from our first mobile games to this? I don't remember. Nobody.
Magic.
Exactly. How, when we talk about story in video game, how it's like come so far, like story as a whole. I mean, you look at what's that game, like the really old dungeon game, like we were Square and the little dragon.
Adventure
Dungeons
on the
and
Atari.
Dragons? What?
No. Castlevania? No.
No, it was like Adventure. No, it was Adventure.
On the Atari?
From like you have to defeat a little dragon to Last of Us. We've come so far to the point where video games are becoming like movies. And then, I got to ask a question. When do video games stop being video games and just become movies?
Well,
really?
What do you
When
mean
you
by
stop
that?
Well, I
Like,
mean, like, it's
Games
starting
like
to
that.
get it's like, I'm not really complaining here, but this is just a point that someone else made on, points that other people have made. It's just, it's coming to a point where story is beginning to overtake gameplay. It's something like that.
kind of like a Telltale Games thing, like Guardians of the Galaxy Minecraft story mode.
Yeah, kind of like that, where gameplay is just second to the story.
I don't think those games are taking over the industry right now. Like AAA games like Battlefront and Assassin's Creed are still huge. And I think story in a game is very essential, but to the point where it's almost like an interactive movie, to where the game almost plays itself.
Especially considering how like common VR is getting and how it's becoming more and more like broad. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Nintendo Switch is releasing at some point in the next couple of years a VR attachment. And like things like that, like just having video games no longer be something you play on a keyboard or a controller while on a screen, it becomes more of something that is still technically a video game, but it's much more story based and it's more like the gameplay is you.
Yeah. In the beginning when the Switch came out, I was almost like a self-trained expert on that thing. Like I could go on for hours about it. So with the Nintendo Switch, there was a patent filed for a VR headset, but that's about all we know, I think, right now. But I don't think they've really announced anything for VR at the moment, other than the patent. That's about it. But yeah, like VR is definitely cool. Like with the HTC Vive, it's very,
Yeah,
very
it's
interactive
awesome.
and very immersive. And then there's places, I forget the name, but they actually build like a physical maze or like to imitate like a spaceship. And you have like a physical gun and you go walking around that maze and it's like you can actually feel what you see in the game. Like the walls, you can actually ram yourself into the walls and you actually walk around in this building playing the game with like an actual gun in your hand, and you could actually like climb the wall or whatever, like stand on the, like kick the wall or whatever, and you'd actually like be kicking a legitimate wall, and it's like a
I
whole
want to go
experience.
there.
It's like in another state, I think, at least from Florida, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, VR's getting there.
Mm-hmm. And then back to games that almost play themselves. One example was, I don't know if you guys were familiar with this, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. That was such a bad game. Okay, I'm just going to pull out an amiibo for an example real quick. You take something like this, just a little amiibo figurine, you take out your Wii U gamepad, and you'd go, that was the entire gameplay. It would just roll a dice, and then you move across the board. You tap your you had to have a figure to do it. You tap the figure, and that was all the gameplay. It would roll dice, and you'd move on like a board. That was it. And the game basically played itself. It was terrible.
And even the activities, they were just like luck. There was no anything of substance.
And it was like, the games that play themselves, like I'm fine with Telltale games. Like those actually seem appealing.
Yes, those are.
Is that a DS, Martin, or is that a 3DS?
This is an original DS.
Wow.
God, that's beautiful.
I never bought the new DS. This is the only DS I have. Right here is my copy of Kingdom Hearts Recoded, I think is what it's called.
Martin, I street passed
you. Oh my god, I love
Kingdom Hearts. Console peasant.
Martin, I
I
street
love
passed you.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, so for my DS, what's interesting is I have Bakugan,
oh my gosh,
Naruto, Star Wars, Kingdom Hearts, and Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Grand Theft Auto is on.
Also, the DS is pink because I bought it from my sister.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I really wanted to get a DS or like a 3DS when they came out. And up until about a year ago, I had not gotten into Nintendo gaming except for the Wii. And finally, I decided I wanted to get a 3DS, so I got the new 3DS XL. And I'm just going to say, it's awesome. If you're thinking about getting one, get one. I mean, if you want to get a Switch instead, go down that path, but you're missing out on like Pokemon. I mean, they're going to have Pokemon, a mainstream Pokemon title on the Switch like next year, but you've got Pokemon.
Okay, just throwing this out there, but we're not sponsored by Nintendo in any way.
Yeah, no.
No, don't take it like that, please.
Okay, so
Nintendo sponsor us.
Just
money.
real quick to list the Nintendo consoles I have. I have a GameCube, a Wii, a Game Boy Pocket, a DS, another DS, a Wii U, and I have a Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo emulators on my computer.
I have a new 3DS XL and a Wii. That's about it. Me and my sister are like saving up cooperatively for a Switch right now. And so I had I've been out of the Switch news for a while. I walked into Target to pick up
Console
an
peasant.
amiibo the other day, and oh my gosh, I'm just walking around looking for it, and I look at where the Nintendo Switches would be. I'm like, oh, they probably don't have any in stock. They had 7 in stock at that Target.
I know.
And I'm
It's
like,
no. I remember. It's like it's weird. It's in stores now. It's actually like
yeah.
sold out all the time.
I looked it up, and they just did a restock for the blue and red Joy-Con and like the gray Joy-Con this month, so it's gonna be in stock for like a week or two.
So let's get back
week or two.
Yeah.
to talking about video games and not about consoles, because this is
So real quick to get back onto like VR and AR. So the most popular app last year we talked about was Pokemon Go, which is an AR app. So, and we talked a little bit about how VR is coming. And so do we think as times have moved on, and it was clearly shown last year that a combination of nostalgia from the 90s and VR or AR or just basically like being part of the video game instead of just sitting there playing it is creating this. So like it's creating this next generation. So like what's my friend code?
It was just a joke. Yeah, I don't know why Nintendo still does that. Like even with the Switch, it's a thing that Nintendo's been doing. You can't just look up your friend. What you have to do is you have to know the friend already, and they have like a 15-digit friend code that you have to input into your console.
Hey, you want to use voice
That
chat?
doesn't exist with
Download this
Nintendo.
app.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand the voice app, and here's why with a Nintendo Switch.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, we're getting off topic again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So like I was saying, VR and AR is kind of becoming the next generation of gaming, and AR became like this huge thing last year, and with VR becoming better and more prominent, do we think that the gaming we know is going to become old news and that the new popular form of gaming will be VR? And if so, how do you think that's going to affect society if everyone's in their own, literally own little world all the time?
feel like we're gonna
Personally,
have-
I think that VR as it is right now is sort of a fad. Like, however VR is made right now is so expensive and so inefficient. You need an entire room to play VR. Just an entire room that's just for VR. And then you need to buy a headset, which is extremely expensive. And then you need a computer that can actually handle VR, which is also ridiculously expensive. And then, on top of all that, you need to buy the games, which are also ridiculously expensive.
Yeah,
So
but
as it is right now,
I'm more
it's
so,
not
I know.
it's not something that people can use.
Yeah, I know
maybe in
now,
the future it'll be
but, like-
improved and
like,
it'll be better.
that's
but for
kinda how
now,
it was
it's
for video
not
games.
good.
Way back in the day, like Pong was like the only video game, and you had to be super rich to get that. So like, I think I could, like, as it continues to advance, I meant more so for the future, because not right now. Obviously,
Well,
VR.
I was
is-
talking about right now, but in the future,
Yeah, I
hopefully
meant
it'll be
more so for
improved.
like how do you think it's going to like have an impact on gaming and society in general in the future? Shelby, you had a
I feel like it will affect our like this. I feel like it will affect society a lot, just based on how much it affected society getting like TVs and advancing to video games and computers, and how much we've grown so much. But virtual reality, we probably, with everyone being in their own world, literally being connected to the internet, sort of, like, because you're not plugging yourself in, but you're like connected. You're in your own world. I feel like you would have a lot more accidents, a lot of people breaking legs, a lot of people like seeing what it's like outside instead of using one room, or people getting concussions or because of the headset might be on too tight, and then it just like squeezes on your head, so you can have like injuries on your head, or you can get headaches faster. There's probably be more injuries involved than anything.
Yeah. Because since the game VR is much more physical than sitting on the couch with a controller or a keyboard and mouse, there's obviously going to be more injuries, and you kind of can't prevent that. Anything that's physical comes with its own set of dangers. But like, you're not, at least right now, how VR is, it's not like you're going to run around your house with a headset on, running into walls with like a ninja sword in your hand. It's almost, right now, you're like stationary in the room. And
That's how I am already. I mean, running around my house with a ninja sword, running into things, that is my everyday life. No.
I feel like some dumb people would do that.
Yeah.
Just to push virtual reality to the extreme.
Like eventually, when it's not like wide appeal, like when it's cheap enough, stupid people are going to buy it.
Mm-hmm. And like,
Okay.
I want to talk about
Oh wait.
like another injury that might come with VR. Oh, did you want to say something, Leo?
Yeah, I want to say something about
Go ahead.
this. Sorry for interrupting you, but
No, go ahead.
I think right now VR is not advanced enough, and I know that sounds kind of funny, but right now it's just not cheap, as you guys all say. But I don't think it's going to be like too big. You know, PC will still be around for at least the next 50 or so years. I'm not sure what we're going to play in the future. I know I'm still going to be playing the same game as a game that I'm playing right now for 50 years. But, you know, I don't think it's going to be like too prominent. It's going to be just like another console, right? Just another thing.
Yeah, as VR is...
Martin, oh my god.
Yeah, as VR is right now...
Depths of hell again, guys.
What?
I'm trying to
Depths of hell.
I'm trying to fix my light because it's getting kind of dark in here, but it's not working right, and it keeps looking like I'm staring at a pit into hell.
Yeah. As VR is right now, I don't think we're anywhere close unless like some revolution comes through. Yeah, viva la VR.
I think I was hoping that someone would just say Sword Art Online type, but
I thought about saying that, but
okay.
If you die in the game, you
die in real life. But as VR is right now, it's not even close to like taking out the rest of the gaming market from like consoles and PCs.
I have a joke. I have a really good joke. Everyone knows the movie V for Vendetta, right?
I know about it, but I've never seen it.
VR for Vendetta. Get it? Yeah. I'm awesome like that. I have...
Go home.
Go for the joke, but my friend has
Get off the stage.
So, I mean...
Do you know the name V?
Yes, that.
Okay, so, yeah, as kind of a wrap, we've talked about video games, and we've talked about video games, and we've talked about video games, and then we've talked about video games some more, and then we talked a little bit, we had a little bit of a political argument about video games for a little bit, and now video games continue to happen. So, I'd say today's podcast was good, so does anyone have any closing notes?
Be nice to others on the internet.
Yeah,
really.
Be nice.
Be nice to the little kids that are on there because they think they can handle it, and if they know they can handle it, then let them play the game.
Be nice and wear your seatbelt. Our executive producer is Juan II. Our makeup artist is Juliana Andrews.
My mom.
Our audio and visual editor is somebody unlisted who works for the mafia, and that's a wrap.
And I run lights.
And don't forget our financiers. Guys, can't forget our financiers, the Sneeple who control our minds.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
And
also, I have to wear sunglasses to turn my light on in my room, so that's great. Okay.
Awesome. You
Goodbye.
spent another 2 hours listening to us talk about things. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, Sneeple.
Or if you're like me, have a nice night where you listen to this podcast at 1 a.m. so you could fall asleep easier. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, but CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire, the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.